They already divided my inheritance. They thought I was blind. They thought silence meant surrender. They were wrong. 7 days from now, they'll beg at my door. Suitcases in hand. Eyes down. Voices weak. I won't open. The lock will be new. The keys will be mine. That's the end. But this is the beginning. My name is David Miller. 46. Austin, Texas. I work in insurance. I calculate risk faster than heartbeat. My mother died in April. She left me her condo. 2 bedrooms. A narrow balcony. A shelf of old vinyl. Johnny Cash. Elvis. Dust on the sleeves. The air still smelled of cinnamon and burnt coffee. As if she was coming back any minute. I held the keys tight. Metal warm from the sun. And I whispered, "This is mine." Olivia thought otherwise. My wife. 42. Sharp smile. She calls everything reasonable. Laura agreed. My sister. 38. Accountant. She loves the word fair. Between reasonable and fair, they planned to bury me. At the kitchen table, they smiled too much. Olivia leaned forward. "David, this is reasonable. Sign the condo to Laura." "Just for now." Laura nodded. "It's fair. We're family." I sipped cold coffee. Ice melting slow. I didn't answer. They saw silence as surrender. That was their first mistake. That night, the walls betrayed them. Thin drywall carried whispers. Smoke slipping through cracks. "He's broken," Olivia whispered. "Push him to a doctor. If he's unstable, the papers move faster." Laura's voice flat. "Don't give him time. He always folds." I stared at the ceiling fan, counting its turns. 1, 2, 3. By 12 I knew. War started. They didn't know I was already ahead. Next morning, I drove downtown. Austin heat pressed through glass. Traffic crawling on I-35. Bats circling under Congress Bridge. Starbucks smelled of vanilla and milk. I ordered black coffee. No sugar. The notary's office was gray. Small. Metal lamp buzzing. He greeted me by name. I revoked every power of attorney. Filed restriction, no transaction without me. Took certified copies. Proof in my pocket. What they didn't know, those papers would cut deeper than knives. At night, Olivia pinned a card to the fridge. Dr. Howard. Psychiatrist in Westlake. He'll help you with stress. The beach magnet held it crooked. The wave looked like an oil spill. She smiled soft. "I'm worried about you." I didn't answer. I just looked at the card. Proof she was already running out of moves. Flash forward, in 4 days, that card would be Exhibit A. At dawn, a gray envelope waited at my door. No address. No name. Cheap paper. Inside, a power of attorney. My name signed. Smooth. Clean. Perfect. Too perfect. My real hand shakes. My broken finger scars every page. This wasn't me. Next to it, a key. My mother's key. The same one I hid in my jacket yesterday. Now in an envelope. Someone was closer than skin. They thought this was the endgame. They didn't know, it was only move 1. The forged page was flawless. Too flawless. Smooth strokes. No scars. My finger always scars. This was fake. Desperate. And desperation leaves evidence. They left more than a signature. They left my mother's key. The same one pressed against my chest. Yesterday. Now lying in an envelope. Today. On my doormat. Someone entered my life. My pocket. My house. While I was awake. While I was breathing. Vanilla perfume lingered. White flowers. Not Olivia's. Not Laura's. Another shadow in their game. Flash forward by Friday. I'd know exactly whose scent it was. I didn't panic. I smiled. Fear is their fuel. Silence is mine. Silence burns longer. I dropped the key in a glass jar. Tight lid. Top shelf. Every time I looked up, I saw it. Proof. Reminder. Warning. That morning I drove to my doctor. Routine check. Simple questions. What day? What city? Say 3 words backward. I answered steady. Calm. No pause. He wrote it down. Patient competent. Oriented. Stable. His stamp cracked against the page. A hammer strike. My shield. What he didn't know, by Friday they'd wish I had failed. At noon I met Michael. My neighbor. My lawyer. His apartment smelled of tea and old paper. He opened a file. Forgery cases. Dozens. Most ended the same way. Prison. He tapped the page. They think signatures are just ink. They forget ink can burn. He closed the file. Let them build the stage. Then watch it collapse. Flash forward, in 3 days I'd pulled that stage out from under them. That night, I walked through my mother's condo. Blinds rattling. Dust floating. Johnny Cash cracked on the cover. I whispered, "You won't take this." My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Friday. 10 a.m. Greg is ready. Don't be late. Greg. Their fixer. Not mine. I saved it. Every message was a brick. Bricks build walls. And I was stacking mine high. Olivia came home late. Shoes clicking too sharp. Smile too fast. David, see a doctor. You're not yourself. I held up the stamped paper. I already did. Her smile shattered. She turned away. Phone lit her hand. Texting Laura. Midnight. Another buzz. Friday. Don't make this harder. I laughed. Harder for who? At dawn I brewed coffee. Burnt smell filled the kitchen. I sat at the table. Turned on the recorder. Played their whispers again. He's broken. Push him. Greg will handle it. Every word a nail. Nails for their coffin. I poured bourbon in the coffee. Ice cracked like gunfire. My reflection stared back. Calm. Steady. Flash forward, at 10 a.m., they'd see that reflection across the table. 9:30. Downtown Austin. Heat pressing. Traffic roaring. I sat in my car. Watching Greg's office. Watching the trap they built. 9:55. A black SUV stopped. Olivia stepped out. White blouse. Dark glasses. Laura followed. Notebook clutched like a shield. They walked inside. Confident. Too confident. They thought they were hunters. They didn't know they were prey. When they opened the door, I was already there. Sitting in the corner. My folder on the desk. Doctor's report on top. Recorder beside it. Silence filling the room. Olivia froze. Laura blinked. Greg's hand hovered over his cheap stamp. Waiting for me. And when Greg finally reached for it, I slid my folder across. Inside wasn't my name. Inside was their funeral notice. Greg's office smelled of toner and sweat. The blinds crooked. Dust floating in the light. A copy machine hummed in the corner. On the desk, blank forms. Too many. Like traps waiting for prey. Olivia stood behind the chair. Laura sat with her notebook, pen tapping fast. Greg shuffled papers, avoiding my eyes. He asked, "Mr. Miller, ready to sign?" His smile was thin. Forced. I didn't answer. Silence was my answer. I slid my folder across the desk. He looked down. His smile cracked. On top, the doctor's report. Competent. Oriented. Stable. Below, certified copies from the registry. Stamped. Sealed. Proof against forgery. Olivia reached for the folder. Her hand shook. I stopped it with mine. Cold. Firm. Laura whispered. David, don't do this. We're family. I finally spoke. Family doesn't steal keys. Family doesn't forge names. Family doesn't hire Greg. The room froze. Copy machine clicked once. Then silence. Greg cleared his throat. Maybe a misunderstanding. I leaned forward. My voice low. The only misunderstanding is yours. You thought I wasn't ready. Flash forward 3 days later, they would still be staring at that folder, knowing it ended them. I gathered my papers. Stood up. Walked to the door. Then turned. This is strike one. There won't be a second. I left them sitting in silence. Downtown heat burned my face. Asphalt smelled of fire. Cars roared. My phone buzzed. Unknown number again. We can still fix this. Tonight. Meet at the condo. I saved it. Proof is proof. That evening, I sat in my mother's kitchen. Shadows crawling the walls. Johnny Cash spinning on the player. His voice filled the dark. Strong. Defiant. Olivia's lies couldn't reach here. I poured bourbon. Ice cracked loud. The recorder blinked red. Their whispers hissed through the speaker. He's broken. Push him. Greg will handle it. Nails for their coffin. Flash forward, by Sunday, those whispers would echo in a courtroom. Midnight. Headlights flashed outside. A car stopped near the curb. Laura's silver Toyota. She knocked. Hard. David, let's talk. Just 5 minutes. I stayed silent. She tried the knob. Locked. Tried again. Cursed under her breath. Finally, footsteps retreating. Engine starting. The silence returned. I didn't sleep. Dreams were useless. Plans were better. At dawn, I drove the city. Downtown waking up. Bakeries smelled of bread. Coffee shops smelled of steam and vanilla. Normal life. But my life wasn't normal. Not anymore. My phone buzzed again. Another message. Last chance. Noon. Downtown diner. A public trap. They thought witnesses would weaken me. They didn't know, witnesses make me stronger. At 11:55, I pushed the diner door. Bell rang above. Grease and coffee in the air. Olivia and Laura in a booth. Black jackets. Cold eyes. On the table, an envelope. Waiting for me. I slid into the seat. Ordered black coffee. No sugar. The waitress poured. Steam curled between us. Olivia pushed the envelope forward. David, sign this. It's temporary. It will protect the condo. Laura added. Think about the taxes. The stress. I opened it. Another forged draft. My name already typed. Just waiting for my stroke. I dropped it back. Coffee steam blurred the space between us. I said one line. The only thing I'll sign is your collapse. The diner froze. Even the waitress stopped moving. Olivia whispered, You don't mean that. I leaned closer. My voice low. I do. And I already started. Flash forward, by tomorrow, they would learn how far I had started. I stood up. Walked away. But not before dropping a flash drive on the table. Small. Black. Label in red ink. Recording. Tuesday night. Their eyes followed it. Wide. Terrified. They thought it was the only copy. They were wrong. The diner door closed behind me. The flash drive stayed on the table. Olivia stared at it like a loaded gun. Laura's hand shook against her coffee cup. They didn't chase me. Fear nailed them in place. I walked into the Austin heat. Sun pressed down. Asphalt burned. Air tasted like iron. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. New bait. We can still work this out. Tonight. Parking garage, 6th Street. A trap. Too obvious. Too desperate. I didn't delete it. I saved it. Every message was proof. Flash forward, by Sunday, those texts would be read aloud by someone who wasn't me. Evening came slow. I drove downtown. Parked 2 blocks away. 6th Street was alive. Neon glowing. Music spilling from bars. Laughter echoing. But the garage was silent. Cold. Oil on concrete. The air smelled like metal. My shoes echoed on the floor. In the far corner, Olivia waited. Next to a black SUV. Sunglasses at night. Wrong move. Too nervous. She waved me closer. David, please. We can fix this. Her voice cracked. Not for me. For herself. I stopped 10 feet away. Where's Laura? Olivia flinched. Looked over her shoulder. Too fast. Too guilty. She's not here. I smiled. Then who's behind me? A step. Heavy. Male. Greg stepped out of the shadows. Cheap suit. Folder in hand. His tie loose. His smile tighter. One signature, Mr. Miller? Then you walk away. His words calm. His hand shook. The folder rattled. I looked at Olivia. Eyes down. At Greg. Eyes darting. You forgot something. He frowned. What? I pulled out my phone. Press play. Whispers filled the garage. He's broken. Push him. Greg will handle it. Olivia gasped. Greg froze. His face pale in the flickering light. I stepped closer. My voice cut sharper than concrete. This is what I have. Imagine what else I'm holding. Silence swallowed the garage. The phone screen glowed in my hand. Olivia whispered, David, don't do this. I pocketed the phone. I already did. I walked past them. My footsteps echoed louder than their breathing. Flash forward. In 2 days, their own voices would bury them deeper than any lawyer could. Back home, I sat in the dark. The condo smelled of dust and bourbon. Blinds rattled in the wind. Johnny Cash waited on the shelf. I poured a drink. Ice cracked like breaking glass. I whispered to myself, war isn't with fists. It's with silence. And silence was mine. The next morning I called Michael. Told him everything. His voice stayed calm. They crossed a line. Forgery. Conspiracy. That's criminal now. Don't let rage lead. When the time comes, we burn them quiet. Afternoon, I walked past Laura's bank. Through the glass I saw her. Smiling at customers. Balanced. Professional. Like she wasn't stealing from her own brother. I thought about walking in. Dropping a flash drive on her desk. But I didn't. Timing beats anger. That night, Olivia tried again. Roast chicken. My favorite. Candles on the table. Red wine poured. She smiled soft. David, let's start over. Forget the condo. Forget the papers. Just us. Her phone lay face down. Screen lighting every few seconds. I asked, who's texting you? She froze. No one. I leaned back. Calm. Then hand it over. She grabbed the phone. Walked out. The door slammed. The glass shook. Wine spilled across the table. Red stains spreading like blood. I didn't clean it. I let it spread. Flash forward, by the time that stain dried, her lies would too. Midnight. Another message. Sunday. Noon. Last chance. Last chance for them. Not me. I turned off the phone. Sat in the dark. The fan creaked above me. 1, 2, 3. By 12 I decided. Their story ends where I choose. And I choose Sunday. Sunday wasn't a threat. Sunday was a choice. My choice. I didn't raise my voice. I raised the floor under their feet. The plan was simple. Quiet steps. Clean lines. No luck. Only proof. The wine stain on the table had dried. Dark edges. Sticky center. It looked like a map of their lives. I left it there. Let the house remember. I packed a small bag. Folder. Recorder. Extra flash drive. Printed transcripts with timestamps. Doctor's report on top. Registry copies under it. The glass jar with my mother's key went in last. The lid was tight. The metal clicked twice. I wrote 3 words on a sticky note. Chain of custody. Michael taught me that. Proof isn't loud. Proof is patient. Flash forward, by noon, a stranger would read their words out loud. And that stranger wouldn't be me. The morning felt heavier than usual. Austin heat pressed through the blinds. The condo smelled like dust, coffee, and old varnish. I brewed fresh coffee anyway. Black. Bitter. No sugar. I let it burn my tongue. Pain keeps the mind sharp. I called Michael at 8. He answered on the first ring. His voice was steady. You ready? I said yes. He told me the steps again. Be early everywhere. Record everything. Don't argue. Don't improvise. Let the paper speak first. Then let silence finish. He would meet me downtown at 10. Not in his office. Not in the garage. In the one place that doesn't bluff. I wrote down the address. County building. 2nd floor. Records and affidavits. Flash forward, by Monday, a case number would live next to their names. I left the condo and drove to a hardware store. The air inside smelled like lumber and machine oil. I bought a deadbolt with a hardened core. New strike plate. Longer screws. A small graphite tube for the keyway. The clerk bagged everything slow. He didn't know he was bagging a decision. Outside, the asphalt was already soft. Heat shimmered above the lot. I opened the trunk. Tools slid against the liner. Metal on plastic. I liked that sound. It sounded like a door learning who it belonged to. Next stop was storage. The unit was cold, even in summer. Concrete floor. Metal walls. I moved my mother's records first. Then her photo albums. Then the small box of rings she never wore. They were heavy for their size. Memory always is. I locked the unit. Took a photograph of the door. Time. Date. Location. Proof that the past was safe. Flash forward, by Sunday night, the future would be safe too. I drove across town to a small strip of offices. Bayed buildings. Faded numbers on the doors. I met a manager in a blue shirt. He handled security for 3 garages, including the one on 6th. He looked tired. He looked honest. I showed him my messages. The time. The level. The corner. He pulled the footage without drama. He burned it to a disk. The disk felt lighter than it should. Heavy things often feel light before they hit. I labeled it in black ink. 6th. Friday. 9:57 p.m. I slid it into my folder. Under the doctor's stamp. Over the transcripts. A wall was growing. Brick by brick. I stopped by the bank next. Not my branch. A different one. Farther. Quieter. The clerk wore gray and a careful smile. I asked for the access log to my box. He didn't ask why. He printed the ledger. I photographed each line. Time. Clerk initials. My signature. No gaps. No visitors. No surprises. Paper doesn't forget. People do. I left and felt the heat punch my face. I didn't mind. Heat tests what holds. My phone buzzed. Unknown number again. Noon. Last chance. Last chance for who? Not for me. For them. I turned the phone face down on the passenger seat. Let the message bake under the sun. I parked 2 blocks from the county building. The steps were worn in the middle. Thousands of choices had walked this stone. Inside, the air was cold and dry. Old paper. New toner. The 2nd floor smelled like rules. Michael waited by the elevators. Navy suit. No tie. Calm eyes. We shook hands. No small talk. He slid a form to me. Affidavit of forgery. He pointed to the lines that mattered. Date. Description. Attached exhibits. I wrote slow. Precise. No metaphors. Only facts. He added the doctor's report. The registry copies. The garage footage disc. The text messages printed with times. The recording transcript with speaker tags. Olivia. Laura. Greg. Whisper. Push. Handle it. He placed sticky tabs on each page. He numbered them twice. He stood straight and nodded once. File it. I filed it. The clerk stamped the corner. The sound was soft, like a small hammer on wood. My folder got heavier. Not by weight. By consequence. Flash forward, by the time Olivia knocked, this stamp would be the coldest thing in the room. We left the building. Sun slapped us again. Michael checked his watch. You have an hour. I said I knew. He said, don't taunt. Don't threaten. Don't explain. Just let them choose a door. Then don't open it. He headed the other way. I drove home. The condo looked different in late morning. Colors felt thinner. Shadows sharper. I laid tools on the counter. Deadbolt. Strike plate. Screws. I removed the old lock. Brass dust fell like gold crumbs. The new bolt slid in clean. The plate caught firm. The door felt heavier under my hand. A door learns its owner in 3 turns. I tested once. Twice. Third time with my eyes closed. It clicked like a promise. I wiped the knob with a dry cloth. No prints. No oil. Only mine. I stood at the table and looked at the dried stain. The edge had turned almost black. I touched it with one finger. It wasn't sticky anymore. It was set. Things that set don't go back. I placed the glass jar in the center. My mother's key floated above the lid line. It looked like it was waiting for a door that didn't exist. I added the sticky note under it. Chain of custody. I opened the blinds a little. Light washed across the table. Dust lifted and disappeared. I checked the peephole. The hallway was empty. Carpet. White paint. A crooked number on the opposite door. The building hummed low. Air handler. Elevator. Lives stacking on lives. My phone buzzed again. We're outside. Open. I didn't move. I let the text land and die. I poured water in a glass. No bourbon. Not now. The water tasted like metal. Austin water always does. I stood behind the door. Close enough to feel the draft. Not close enough to shadow the light. The elevator dinged. Soft. Then another ding. Suitcases roll louder on cheap carpet. Wheels caught on seams. Stops. Starts. Breathing near the door. Olivia's voice was tight. David. We can talk. Laura's knock was shallow. 3 light taps. She never knocked hard. People who take always test first. I didn't answer. I let the silence answer. Silence is a sentence when you earned it. They tried again. Olivia said, Please. Laura said, Family. The elevator dinged down the hall. Someone else stepped out. Shoes softer. Pace measured. Not a neighbor. Not a friend. Paper in a hand. A second breath in the hallway. Flash forward, by the time I opened my mouth, everything that mattered would already be said by someone else. Olivia knocked harder. Laura tried the handle. The deadbolt held like a shut jaw. I took a breath. Counted the fan turns in my head. 1, 2, 3. I thought about Friday. About the garage. About the disc in my folder. About the stamp on my affidavit. About the jar on the table. I thought about my mother's voice singing along with Johnny Cash. I thought about what belongs to whom. The hallway went quiet. Then a new voice. Calm. Level. Practiced. Ms. Miller. Ms. Harris. You've been served. Paper slid. Shoes turned. Wheels rolled again. Olivia said a word I won't repeat. Laura whispered nothing at all. The elevator swallowed them. The hallway sighed. I stayed behind the door and breathed once. Then twice. Then 3 times. I didn't open. I didn't speak. I only turned the lock one last time and set the second envelope on the table. Tomorrow at 10, they would learn what it meant. Sunday didn't start with peace. It started with weight. The kind of weight that presses the air flat. Olivia thought the papers meant victory. Laura thought family meant leverage. Greg thought signatures meant surrender. They were all wrong. Flash forward, by nightfall, their own words would speak louder than mine ever could. I woke before sunrise. The condo was still. Dust hovered in the thin light. The fan creaked overhead, counting seconds I didn't need. I brewed coffee. Black. Bitter. The smell of burnt beans filled the kitchen. The first sip cut my tongue. Pain kept me sharp. On the table sat everything that mattered. The folder stacked neat. Flash drives labeled in red. The affidavit stamped blue. My mother's key sealed in the glass jar. And the stain. That dried red stain from spilled wine. It looked almost black now. Set. Permanent. Micro hit, stains don't fade. They tell you what stayed. At 8, Michael called. No greetings. Just a plan. Stay quiet. Let the paper speak. Don't explain. Don't threaten. Don't touch. His voice was calm, but final. I said one word. Ready. He paused. Then, see you at noon. Flash forward. At noon, the sheriff's voice would carry more weight than Olivia's tears. I checked the locks again. Turned the deadbolt once. Twice. 3 times. The sound was sharp. Metallic. Like steel teeth closing. I pressed my palm against the door. The wood was cool. Solid. It knew me. It belonged to me. I walked the condo slow. 1 room. Then the next. In the bedroom, I touched the dresser. The wood smelled faintly of polish and dust. My mother's picture still stood on top. Her smile frozen in black and white. I whispered, "They won't touch this." Micro hit. I wasn't weak. I was waiting. Back in the kitchen, I laid out the folder again. Page by page. The doctor's stamp. The registry copies. The transcript with their whispers. I numbered each in the corner. 1, 2, 3. Proof doesn't lie. Proof doesn't shake. Proof doesn't beg. Flash forward, in 48 hours, these numbers would be case numbers. And their names would sit beside them. By 10, Olivia started texting. Rapid. Nervous. David, open. We can talk. Then Laura. We're family. Don't ruin this. Each buzz lit the screen brighter than the sun through the blinds. I didn't answer. Silence is sharper than any reply. The elevator dinged down the hall. I froze. Listened. Suitcases roll louder than footsteps. Plastic wheels catching on the carpet seams. Stop. Start. Stop. A breath outside the door. Olivia's voice, higher now. David, open the door. Let's fix this. Laura's knock followed. Shallow. Always shallow. We're family. Don't fight us. Flash forward, they thought the door was the end. They didn't know the door was only the beginning. I didn't answer. I let the silence press against them. Silence weighs more than words. Then, new footsteps. Slower. Measured. Heavier. Not Olivia. Not Laura. The knock was harder. A voice followed. Calm. Cold. Professional. Ms. Miller. Ms. Harris. You've been served. Paper slid under the door. Suitcases rattled. The elevator dinged again. Wheels rolled away. Olivia hissed something I didn't catch. Laura whispered nothing at all. Micro hit. That's what surrender sounds like, silence. I bent down. Picked up the envelope. Heavy. Stamped. Legal weight. I carried it to the table. Set it beside the glass jar. Key. Papers. Stain. All in one line. Past. Present. Proof. Flash forward, by Tuesday, this envelope would outlive their excuses. I poured bourbon into a short glass. Ice cracked. The sound echoed like a gunshot in the empty condo. I stared at the line of proof. And whispered, "This isn't revenge. This is balance." The phone buzzed again. "David, please." Then another. "You don't have to do this." Then another. "We can still fix it." Micro hit. Begging is loud. Truth is louder. I walked to the balcony. The air was hot, thick. Austin's sun burning the streets below. Cars crawled like ants. People laughed somewhere distant. None of it touched me. My war was here. My silence was here. Flash forward, in less than an hour, silence would end them louder than shouting ever could. I came back inside. Sat at the table. Put my hand on the folder. The paper was cool. Heavy. Real. I tapped it once. Twice. Like a drum. Counting down. The fan creaked above me. 1, 2, 3. I thought about Friday night. The garage. Their voices trapped in my recorder. I thought about the diner. The flash drive on the table. Their faces pale. I thought about my mother's condo. Her records. Her coffee. Her voice. I thought about what belongs to whom. The hallway outside was quiet now. No voices. No wheels. No begging. Only silence. The kind of silence that feels final. By the time I turned the lock again, the only voices left would be theirs, inside transcripts, stamped, sealed, permanent. Sunday wasn't loud. It was exact. Every second had a place. Every step had a line. I didn't raise my voice. I raised the floor. The condo held its breath. Dust hung in sunlight like quiet snow. The fan creaked a slow count above me. 1, 2, 3. My folder sat open on the table. Doctor's stamp on top. Registry copies under it. Transcripts stacked neat. Flash drives labeled in red. The affidavit corner stamped blue. My mother's key floated in the jar. The dried wine stain framed it all like a map. Micro hit. I wasn't weak. I was waiting. Outside, the hallway settled into church silence. Carpet swallowed footsteps. Air hummed through vents. Somewhere far, an elevator sighed. My phone buzzed on the counter. "Please! We're outside. Open." I set it face down. It buzzed alone. Flash forward, by Tuesday morning, those messages would sit in evidence, not in my pocket. Knocks landed. 3 soft taps. Laura's signature. She always tested first. Then Olivia. Hard. Impatient. "David, open the door. Let's end this." I stood behind the door. Close enough to feel the draft. Not close enough to cast a shadow. I didn't answer. Silence answered for me. Silence weighs more than words. Another knock. Lower. Measured. The deputy. Paper slid. Fabric rustled. Wheels rolled. The hallway breathed out. A voice, calm and practiced. "Ms. Miller. Ms. Harris. You've been served." Flash forward, in 48 hours, the only thing they'd serve would be apologies. They wouldn't be on the menu. I picked up the envelope. Heavier than paper should feel. Stamps raised like small hills under my thumb. I set it on the table next to the jar. Key. Papers. Stain. Past. Proof. Consequence. My world reduced to a straight line. Micro hit. Revenge is loud. Balance is quiet. I poured water, not bourbon. Cold. Metallic edge. Austin water always tastes like pennies in storms. I took one sip. The glass clicked against wood. The fan marked time. 1, 2, 3. Flash forward, by Monday, a case number would sit beside their names, cold as steel. Olivia texted again. We can talk. Laura tried a new angle. We didn't mean harm. Meaning isn't a shield. Paper is. I sent one line. All contact through counsel. Then airplane mode. The phone went dark. The room got lighter. I tightened the deadbolt. The sound felt like a sentence. I walked the condo. Bedroom first. Her photo. Black and white smile. A young dress. A simple chain. I dusted the frame with my sleeve. Micro hit. They took my quiet. They won't take my dead. In the closet, I pulled down a small box. Her rings. Heavy for their size. Memory always weighs more than metal. I set them in the jar's shadow. It felt right. Flash forward, by the end of today, everything fragile would be behind glass, not behind hope. Noon drew a line across the floor. The light turned the stain almost black. A truth you could step around, but never step over. I locked the condo. Went downstairs. Heat hit like a wall. Austin's sun pushed my shoulders forward. I drove to the county building. The stone steps had a dip in the center. Choices carved stone over time. Inside, it smelled of toner and old carpet. Second floor. Records and affidavits. No drama. No speeches. Only lines. The clerk scanned the documents slow. Barcodes beeped like a heart you could trust. She stamped each corner. Soft hits. Small hammer. Big echo. Michael waited by the wall. Navy suit. Calm eyes. You did it right, he said. I nodded. They chose the door. He added 2 more forms. Protective order. Notice to the bank. Clean blocks. Clear boxes. We filed those too. The clerk's stapler snapped like a trap closing. Flash forward, by Wednesday, the bank would call Laura into a small room with no windows. My hands on the folder felt steady. Not light. Not heavy. Just right. Michael said, Don't celebrate. Just continue. I said, I'm not built for champagne. He almost smiled. Good. We left the building. Sun flared white off windshields. Sirens whispered far away and then nothing. Austin swallowed its own noise. I drove to storage. The unit door rolled up with a cough. Cool air met the heat. I moved the last things inside. Photo albums. Vases wrapped in towels. The old player. Johnny Cash on top. I locked the door. Took a picture. Time. Date. Address. Proof. Micro hit. Memories aren't safe in promises. They're safe in locks. Flash forward, by tonight, the only open door in my life would be the one I choose. Back home, the hallway was empty. The condo held steady like a held breath. I set the folder down and washed my hands. Soap smelled like lemon and the past. I made coffee I wouldn't finish. I needed the ritual more than the drink. A message pushed through after airplane mode. Unknown number. Not Olivia. Not Laura. A voicemail from Greg. His tone was flatter than paper. This is a misunderstanding. We can work something out. I saved it. Then sent it to Michael. Then to the cloud. Then to a drive. Micro hit. When a fixer asks for mercy, the fix is finished. Flash forward, by Friday, Greg would stop saying misunderstanding. He'd start saying counsel. The afternoon drifted without weight. I tightened screws on the strike plate. Graphite in the keyway. 3 smooth turns. The door answered like a guard dog that never sleeps. I sat at the table. Put the key jar in the center. The affidavit to the left. The transcripts to the right. I wasn't building a shrine. I was building a map. A map of how I got here. A map of how I leave. The sun slid lower and bled along the blinds. The stain went from red to coal. Night ahead. Monday behind it. The condo cooled. The air conditioner sighed. For the first time in months, the room felt like it belonged to me again. Flash forward, by next month, this address might be someone else's. But the quiet would be mine wherever I lived. A soft knock surprised me. Not the hallway. Inside my ribs. A memory knocking. Her voice humming with Johnny Cash on Sundays. The way she tapped the counter while water boiled. The way she'd say my name like a promise, not a call. I touched the jar. Metal met glass. Cold through colder. I kept it, I said. I kept all of it. Micro hit. I didn't forgive. I didn't forget. I concluded. I packed a smaller bag for the night. Clothes. Toothbrush. The drive with copies. The folder stayed. The jar stayed. I turned off the lights. The city climbed the blinds in stripes. I listened for wheels. For whispers. For lies. None came. Only the fan counting the seconds it owed me. 1, 2, 3. Flash forward, by morning they'd try again. They always do. By morning, I wouldn't be here to hear it. I locked the door from the inside. Then from the outside. The new bolt answered clean. I walked down the hall. The elevator smelled like cold metal and old gum. The lobby doors breathed me into the night. Austin was warm and tired. I drove without music. Streets slid by like credits. I checked into a small hotel near the river. Front desk. Keycard. Ice machine hum. I put the bag down and stood in the dark. I heard water somewhere. Not mine to fix. Not mine to carry. I slept without dreams. Monday arrived without asking permission. The phone lit up the room. Michael texted one word. Filed. Then another. Active. Then a time. Wednesday, 9:30. I replied with 2 words. I'll be there. Flash forward, and they would be there too, but smaller. The condo greeted me like a well-trained dog. I unlocked. I entered. Nothing moved. Nothing stole. Nothing lied. I brewed coffee. Burnt. Bitter. Correct. I checked the jar. The key didn't float. It waited. Waiting is different than floating. It has direction. The door knocked once more before noon. Not Olivia. Not Laura. A courier. Thin envelope. Signed receipt. Inside, a notice from the bank. Neutral words for heavy things. Review. Suspension. Internal matter. Laura would understand. She reads between lines for a living. Micro hit. She balanced books. She couldn't balance this. I sat. I breathed. I didn't smile. Satisfaction is noisy. Completion is not. I wrote a final note on a sticky. 4 words. Keep the door honest. I pressed it under the jar. The glass leaned on yellow. The key rested above it like a small moon. Flash forward, years from now, someone will ask how it ended. They'll expect fire. They'll expect shouting. They'll expect blood. They'll be wrong. I turned off the fan. Silence held. Tight. Real. I took the folder. I took nothing else. I closed the door. Turned the bolt. The lock answered once, like a period. They wanted a scene. They got a record. 2 sounds only, stamped paper and a closing door.